Who are you, uninterrupted? 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 Uninterrupted, uninterrupted, uninterrupted.
Who am I uninterrupted? I am resting. I am dancing. I am moving through spaces. I am writing. I am loving and being loved and receiving love. And I am living. I am living. I knew you were going to ask that question. What I'm learning and what I'm understanding about my culture, being God, being Ewe, and also being in relationship to people who speak Tree, which are the Ashantis, Fantis, all of these people, is that the ways that we've preserved our history, the ways that we've preserved and honored our names, our languages, our cultures, has always been through song, has always been through proverbs, have always been through storytelling. So what many may seem as like some sort of like wonder or even some sort of magical artistic experience, it's really our way of living.
I want to tell you a story about when I visited a tree. And when I asked the tree for guidance, and the tree looked down on me, waved its branches in the air, and said these words to me. The tree said, your freedom will be when you say I let go. He said, your wisdom will be when you say I do not know. He said, your being will be when you say I am. And your beauty will be when you say my name is.
It's really the ways that we've always written ourselves into history and existed and taught ourselves that the people that existed before us are always going to be here. I grew up in a African Pentecostal church. I started to sort of develop a liking for being in front of people and saying something or seeing how there was an allure of some sort that I could bring with my voice. My father, who is a minister, and it's because of him that I really started to see the impact of what words could do to people who were in the space, who were wanting their hearts to be spoken to. I wrote a poem in my 9th grade class, and I remember my teacher reading it, and she started to cry. And that was the first time that I saw that something that I wrote down impacted somebody. And I think it was a direct sort of indication that like my words can impact people's emotions. And so then I started to perform a bit more, and I started to get into Def Poetry Jam at the time, which is something that really inspired the way that I performed on stage. Before I wrote poetry, I've always desired to feel seen and heard. I think I was a very shy kid. And so with poetry, I felt like, wow, people see me, they hear me, and I felt like people understood me. I went to Ghana.
Take our breath. It's sacred. Our breath.
And I performed for this festival, and I performed with this beautiful band called Senkulai.
Leader tells me
freedom,
give up my comfort.
Freedom.
And preacher man tells me
freedom,
give up my pleasure.
freedom,
Government tells me
freedom,
give up my
freedom,
give up my
freedom. Utapa maboya tamalipo, na nagle wala wacho wadadoma, na nagle wala wacho wadra. So who they here?
Who they here?
Who be free?
Who be free?
Who be free? Go fish, show me freedom. Who they here?
Who they here?
Who be free?
Who be free?
Who be free? Go fish, show me freedom.
I I remember one of the members told me, he said, you know, your poetry is beautiful, but it's boring. And I just remember saying, okay, what does it look like for me to perform and perform fully? And so he was like, dance, say the same word, or, you know, like play a little bit more. And my poetry had developed into honoring the indigenous ways that my people had always told stories or invited the people to be a part of the performance, and also honoring the way I grew up in church. Whereas I have a voice, I have to sing something, so therefore everybody is involved. There is no skill or talent that is required. If you are here, you are a part of the performance. Black Cotton Club is a space that is inspired by the Cotton Club, and the Cotton Club that was very popular during the Renaissance movement. They would feature Black performers, but Black people were not allowed to attend those places. And so once Black people, you know, sort of got the stamp or were invited to experience this place, they had to be lighter than a brown paper bag.
Emotions are an echo in so much space. Oh yeah, I miss this.
I feel the power. Up in here. I feel the power. Yes, I do.
We constantly have to fight for to be seen. And then when we're asked to be seen, it's usually very selective in who's allowed to see us. And I just find that a very, very complex relationship to being seen. And so in many ways, when I thought about Black Cotton Club, I thought about a space of wanting to invite the Black body to find comfort in their own selves, but also encouraging folks that the space is not, this is not to be just experienced in this space, but this is something that can happen in other spaces as well. But wanting to encourage the Black body to take up space. And so Black Cotton Club is a curated jam session where it invites bodies to come into the space to sing, to rap, to say a poem, to say baby 500 times if you want to. But the space is really encouraging you to take off your cool, take off any idea or expectation of yourself, and come into the space and sing or yell or cry or experience joy in whatever ways your body has the capacity to do so. But it's for the comfort of these bodies, particularly that are experiencing oppression in other ways, in other spaces. I think Boston, personally, is where I've molded my womanhood. This is the first place that I've lived for a very long time without my parents. It's so diverse, to the point that I've met people almost around the world in this space. And I've built a community around art in which I'm able to be in conversation with people from so many places that understand what it means to live in various ways, from indigenous ways and cultural traditions to the ways that modernly I think we're trying to name and give language to the ways we want to exist. I think that Boston has been a place that nurtures that, specifically for me. Just being in spaces like this where we're surrounded around wealth of knowledge of Black people writing themselves into history and honoring those who existed and those who are to come. I think there's so much beauty in Boston, and it's unfortunate that the only stories that are told, particularly around Boston, are just surrounding the majority, or what folks would name as the majority. But I think there's so much beauty in this city, so much richness in the city, so much wealth, and I'm not talking about money. I think I spend a lot of my time in Boston trying to explore the ways that the community that I live in can be lifted up, whether it be through my work at Black Cotton Club, where it's curating spaces for people in the present, or through my work at the Reckonings Project, which is thinking about the ways that we could use communities' methods of archiving to honor the past, to present the past to the future and use it in the present. Or even whether it's through performing and honoring the stories and poems and proverbs and prayers through a performance style. I think it's really thinking about the ways that, like, you know, Boston and the people, particularly Black people in particular in Boston, have contributed to the history and is currently culture making in the now.
I am unlearning, I am learning, I am loving, I am evolving. I am beautiful, I am strong. I want the people to be free, to be free. I am learning, I am loving, I am being. My name is, my name is, my